So the philosophy we've got about exporting our butter into different countries is that if they have cows, we make the butter there, and if they don't have cows, we export the butter.
This is quite an experience for us to be able to create a product and to be able to go out in the store and see the product on the shelf and say that's where the butter's going to.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Connecting with local farmers and producers is at the heart of great artisan food products. But what if you had the chance to make those connections with farmers in another country, utilising their produce and create a local version of your product in another country? Today I'm joined by Pepe and Mervin King from Gap View Farm in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, USA. Pepe, Mervin, how you going?
G'day.
Good. Yeah, we're doing well.
You've both embarked on an incredibly interesting journey. Pepe, do you want to just tell us about how that started?
Well, we've for a while we've been looking for producing our butter overseas. So the philosophy we've got about exporting our butter into different countries is that if they have cows, we make the butter there, and if they don't have cows, we export the butter. So for example, Dubai has no cows, we send the butter. But when it came to America, we have quite a large demand on our product, a lot of inquiries, and we're already shipping over there. And we found that, well, America has cows, so why are we sending cream halfway around the world when they just want really the Pepe, the way we make it, the artisan product we make, and surely we can find some beautiful cream in America. So we were lucky enough to connect through Brother Daniel to the Mervin King, and go from there.
Mervin, what was it like for you getting in contact with Pepe and sort of thinking about this concept?
Yeah, well, it was a humbling experience. It was a great experience, and it was a good experience to meet somebody as humble as Pepe Sire from halfway around the world. That was a once in a lifetime experience. It was worthwhile. We enjoyed it.
Pepe, tell us about that first interaction for you, and what.
Well, what's interesting, I guess, is that I've never met Amish people before, or the Amish community before. So the experience for me was extremely humbling, I must say, because once we connected with Mervin King and his community and his family and the Schmuckers and the large community they have of Amish in Pennsylvania, I went over there not really knowing what. I mean, for me, the Amish community was people. Okay, they don't use electricity. They don't have television. They're a closed society. This is what I know of them, right? So all these things you hear and you don't really know what to expect. But getting over there and meeting Mervin King, I met Mervin on the first night I was there, and we sat in Brother David Schmucker's house, and we had shoe fly pie, and then I was presenting what the concept was of what we wanted to do in the Amish community, with the Amish, with Brother Daniel. So it's it was very. At the start, it was like, how are we going to do this? And then once I met these lovely people, and there's no other way of describing them. They're incredible people that have a lot of time for you, and it was just an awakening, really, to meet such beautiful people and see that how much we actually have in common.
Mervin, tell us a little bit about the county that you're in and what's great about it for cattle, and tell us a bit about the farm.
Okay. So the farmland is slightly rolling. It's primarily in agriculture. I don't know how many square miles we would have in Lancaster County, but it's what they call the garden spot of the world. Great soils, and there's good soils around in other parts, but it's a very productive area in the United States, and we just happen to live in the county. And I grew up in the county. I've been living here all my life. I grew up on the farm and just love every minute of it.
Pepe, you've been there. Describe the county to you, and you're not unfamiliar with incredible landscapes in Australia, but what's it like for you?
Oh, it was absolutely lush. So the grass was so green, and they're feeding so many different varieties of grass to the cows. The way I've never really seen, in my experience, people just talking to their animals, and the animals just listen to them, and they do what they want from just talking to them. So that was it was really something for me to watch that. And the milk, the flavor of the milk really is intense. It's very beautiful. I mean, we mostly drank raw milk and tried a lot of the products, and we made the butter there. So the butter was absolutely beautiful. It's very lush. It's green. It's very, very green. I mean, I was there during the autumn. So I was there, in fall. So we got to experience fall in Lancaster County, which was beautiful. But it was very lush and green.
Pepe, for you, why is it so appealing and special to make your butter with Mervin and his community?
I think for us, it's always been about the cream. It's been about the provenance of where the cream from, the terroir, what the soil is, what they're feeding the cattle, how they look after the cattle. And that all translates into the product that you're making into the butter. So if you can get that raw product so beautiful, and it's full of goodness because of the people that are looking after the land, that are feeding the cows, that are treating it so well, you will inevitably have such beautiful butter after you churn, after you culture, because then we have our own process, obviously, that we think is beautiful that goes into making the final product. So I think for us, that is it's very important. The people that are involved are the number one. We put most importance on that. They're number one, the people first.
Pepe, we've talked a few times and you've emphasised the real importance of the milk, to make great butter. How different is the milk compared to what you use in Australia?
Oh, look, the milk we use in Australia, as you know, is beautiful, but it's got its own flavour and its own sort of a texture to it when we make the butter. So every time you go, whether you go to France or America, anywhere you go, you're going to have a different flavor, different texture, depending on, I think the feed is going to contribute most of all to the end product. And one of the worries that we had with America is the yellowness of the butter. And my research over time has shown that, some of the Amish communities, because they feed grass and they're small farms, 50, 60, 100 head, they tend to be able to feed really well. They have a good system in place to keep feeding the cows the green grass.
Mervin, tell us a little bit about the history of the farm and what you're growing there.
Okay. So we purchased the farm in 1998 and have been farming there for like 23 years. We grow alfalfa. We sow about 10 different varieties of grass. We put clover and a few other like plantainium and some biological plants to bring the goodness, to the soil and to create a good organic matter in the soil, which is very important to us. So we do corn, alfalfa, a little bit of tobacco. And primarily, we're switching to more and more grass to do like what Pepe was saying, to create a more unique butter, something that you can't find in the supermarkets. And that's we find that it's very important to practice organic practices and create a healthier biological soil, which in turn gives us a higher quality product.
Mervin, what's a typical day on the farm like for you?
Well, the alarm clock goes off at 4:45, 4:30, and we try to get up and get our 2 feet on the ground, 2 eyes open, and drink a little bit of coffee and head for the cows. So we milk the cows, we eat breakfast with the family, and they go off to school, and we eat lunch at noontime. So we're busy doing work in the fields, taking care of the animals, and come back and milking the cows again at 5 o'clock, and sometimes work as late as 8 or 9, sometimes as early as 7. So it gives you a rough estimate of what our day's like.
I'm fascinated about the butter making process because, Pepe, you have your technique with your renowned butter that you have, and the Amish community is renowned for growing and making their own things as well. Are there differences and adjustments in the butter making process that you're making on this project?
Absolutely. So the head butter maker, brother Daniel Lapp, that we've got in Lancaster County, I've spent a bit of time with him while I was over there. As they're not used to the idea of cultured butter. And cultured butter, when you culture the cream before you churn it, the fat's changing from a saturated to an unsaturated. So the butter's much softer and it retains a lot more water. So it's much harder to get the water out. We obviously use, salt flakes. We salt after we make the butter, like after the butter's completely finished. And then I think the one thing that we have in common with their butter making is that we pack by hand. So that is something we don't have to change. It's just the shape that we'll be packing into. But the butter making process, as in like at an elementary level, is the same way you churn, but the cream will react differently because it's being cultured. So if that explains it. So, and they're not used to that part.
And the product, will it be a difference? Quite a different product. Obviously, the milk is different, and it'll create a different butter. But as a result of this, will there be quite a different product to what we see in Australia?
No, it'll be Pepe cultured butter that you find in Australia, but it will have a slight difference in flavour. Now, those that eat Pepe butter every day, they will see the differences even in the Australian butter we make from season to season based on what the cows are eating. Like summer, spring, autumn, winter, it's a different flavour altogether. So in America, I think we're going to find that there's a difference in flavour because of what the cows are eating and the environment that the cows are in. And also from season to season, which I'm sure Brother Mervin will be able to tell us, that the feed changes, therefore the flavour of the milk will change as well. The density of the fat in the milk will change. It's remarkable, and we celebrate those things. So those are things I love about the butter we make, that we're not trying to standardize anything, just keep it natural.
Mervin, how does that feed change through the seasons, and what impact does it have on the milk?
Well, for one thing, in the summertime, it's a higher humidity. And so the temperature affects the cow's body heat, and therefore they might drink more water. And at the same time, they're doing grass pasture base. That's probably a little stressed because of the high humidity conditions. So everything together creates a different ration than it does in the spring and the fall. So the spring and fall, the weather is very pleasant, and ideal for cows. And it also promotes like a cool season grass, which is a very nutritious grass. It's not the tall legumes or fescues. It's a cool season grass. It's more nutritious, and it does create a different taste in the milk. And then as we move into wintertime, obviously the grass isn't growing. We get as cold as 0 degrees up to maybe 30 to 40 degrees, so nothing is growing outside. And therefore we need to feed stored feeds, and that creates a completely different tasting milk as well. Although through some practices we'll be able to feed quite a bit of high moisture hay, which is stored. And even though it's stored, it does help with some retaining some of the yellow color, depending on the diet.
Pepe, you've worked with lots of different producers and created this amazing product that's changed and changes with the season. But what have you learned, and what's changed you about this project with Mervin?
I think that, like, for us, when we were talking about the US and talking about how we're going to approach the US market, we have to go to, if there's cows, we make it there. I think it was all just a fantasy at the start, because we were worried about, well, how do we start? Where do we go? Where do we start this thing? And how do we find the right type of cream? So, knowing, like, after meeting, Mervin and the Amish community in Pennsylvania, everything's just turned on its head, right? Because first of all, you've got this beautiful cream, this beautiful milk that is, anyone listening to this that's into dairy and is into grass fed, anyone listening to this is stuff wet dreams are made of, right? Because you heard Mervin. He could have gone on for an hour, and I was like, oh my god, what? Oh my god! Every thing he said was like, he was just, wow, where did he learn this? So, once you see the quality of the cream, the quality of that milk, the husbandry that I saw on those farms, it's like, the possibilities just opened up, because then you're going, okay, well, no, this is something we can do. And then you've got Brother Daniel supporting us, with the creamery and making sure, we have the right amount of staff and trained, people that we need, because we were training a lot of people over there. It sort of all comes together. And you think, wow, this can really happen, because you got to remember, we're just a small company, right? With a lot of pie in the sky ideas that we think, but then the people are what make it. Like the guys on the other side have to see what we see. And I think that's what we felt when we met Brother Mervin and Brother Daniel and the whole community. We felt that, they get it. They just get it.
Pepe, you export butter to all sorts of places, including sort of central market in Texas. Is the market in America a little bit different to Australia for quality artisan butter like yours?
Look, I think it's a very different market. So when we looked at the market as a whole, we thought, here in Australia, we do 80% food service, HoReCa, 20% retail online. We think America is going to be the total opposite of that. We think retail is going to be huge, 80%. Like, we move so much of our Aussie cultured, Pepe say, cultured butter at central markets, and they've only got 10 stores in Texas. And we think, wow, look at the amount we move at this price point. Like, if we can make it there, bring those costs down because of distribution and shipping, because you've got a lot of logistical problems, right? So if we can do that and bring in a real premium product into the market, there is no limit to what we could do. And if we have people that believe in, artisan and making beautiful products foremost before dollars. So what comes first, beautiful product, then worry about the money later, then we're winning, because, you know, we've already got a really good blueprint of what the business plan needs to be. Now we just need to that passion that we saw in Lancaster County with Brother Daniel and Brother Mervin and Brother David. We just saw pure passion for products and their animals and their cream, and that's what's going to make this product beautiful.
Yeah, and just on Lancaster County, Pepe, tell us about some of the unique and special experiences that you've had there.
Well, I've never been to an Amish community before, and I know they don't like me saying this, and the only Amish experience I've ever had was Witness, the movie. So, like, I didn't know what I was in for, but I arrived in Lancaster County, and it's all beautiful farmland. And then we had the horse and buggy come and pick us up from the hotel and take us into the Amish community. And it is really wow. The farms are so well looked after. They're picturesque, like really are picturesque. And you just can't get enough. You're just there day after day. You're looking at this and going, this is not real. So my experience with Lancaster County was that. And I went from Texas, from say Dallas to Portland, Maine to Cleveland to New York. But when you come into Lancaster County, you're coming into another world, like into the Amish community. I'm sure there's other Amish communities around America. I haven't been to them, so I couldn't say what they're like. But my experience with Lancaster County was like, whoa, this is incredible. It is a paradise.
Well, it's quite an incredible connection that you guys have made. What are the plans going forward?
The plans are, well, we've got to finish setting up the creamery with all the tools that we need to make the butter. Brother Daniel's already got the churn in. We've made the molds here in Australia that we use to hand pack the butter. We've got the salting machine still to come. Then it's all about just getting all the back end things done. You know, you got to set up your company. There's so much stuff you got to do. And then we've got to get the cream right, and then we've got to start trials. So the trials start. Well, we've already made our first batch, and that went really, really well. You'll have to ask Mervin what he thought of it, but it went well. And then the next step is now to I believe in January we get over, and around the end of January we get over and we start making lots of batches, and they're mainly for the community.
Mervin, tell us about that first batch and your thoughts on it.
It was great. I never tasted a butter that had such a good aftertaste. It was just a little bit of a tang to the taste, and it was excellent. And like my wife, and she had her sisters over at the house, and she got them to taste the butter, and they could hardly keep their hands out of it after that. So.
Many people experience the same thing here in Australia with the butter. Pepe, you've already experienced and seen your butter on the shelves in the US, but how's it going to feel when there's locally produced and made butter on the shelves there?
Look, it's going to be fairly surreal for us because, I mean, you know our philosophy. It's all about, here's where the cream's from. We don't like the idea of sending butter to a place that already has cows and milk there. Like, I believe that's quite unsustainable. Now, the connection we have with America now is about trialing the market, which we're happy to do that. And now that we know the market, there is a market for our product. We have to make it there. And when that, I reckon I'll cry when I see that butter on the shelf. There's no doubt. There's no question. But for me, it's about the amount of integrity that is going into making this. It's huge. And, what can I say? It's just like, there's no words to describe that.
Mervin, what's the experience been like for you, and what will it be like for you producing this butter that's with an Australian company that will be on the market in the US?
Well, I was born and raised on the farm, So we were producing milk, and it was going on the conventional market, and it's all we knew. And this is quite an experience for us to be able to create a product and to be able to go out in the store and see the product on the shelf and say that's where the butter's going to.
Well, it's an amazing thing that you guys are doing. Mervin, what do you love about what you do?
Well, it's an opportunity to be working with the family. It's an opportunity to be working with great people like Brother Daniel Lapp and Pepe Sire. I like the idea of doing this because we know it's a good product, and we believe that the consumers deserve to have a good product. And direct relationship with the customers is a worthwhile experience.
Well, very much looking forward to seeing what comes to market early next year. Pepe and Marvin, good luck with everything, and it's an absolute honour to have you on Deep in the Weeds today.
Merci en vredelig for medejskab for Pepe Sire. Dinge for ons hauer door, and dinge for min lasse schwätze mit dich.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us, Hucks.
This is the Deep in the Weeds podcast. I'm Anthony Huckstep. Stay tuned as we take a deep dive into the lives of the incredible people who ply their trade in the food and hospitality sector. Special thanks to executive producer Rob Locke for making this all happen. Follow us on Instagram at Deep in the Weeds Podcast, or email us at podcast@deepintheweeds.com.au. Stay safe and be well.